French embassy in South Africa has confirmed that 250 of its citizens will be repatriated next week. The French citizens will be allowed to travel back home after being stranded due to the lockdown, both France and South Africa. Now, the repatriation follows an agreement between the French and South African governments. For an update on this, we're now joined on the line by the French ambassador to South Africa, Aurélien Lechevallier. Thanks very much indeed for joining us, and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, let's start by talking about the logistics of getting your nationals back home. Is it just 250, or could this number rise as more of your nationals come forward?
No, we're talking here about the tourists. So we've been working very closely indeed with the South African government, the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, the Department of Transportation, the Department of Home Affairs, to make sure that the French tourists still stranded in South Africa will be back to Europe. And we are organizing these flights also with the Dutch embassy and with the European coordination. So we hope that by the end of the week, we will have all these passengers flying back to Europe. But just to clarify, we're not talking here about the French citizens, because we have also a large community of more than 10,000 French citizens living in South Africa. And these citizens will remain, of course, will stay in South Africa like the French companies, respecting, of course, the regulations by the government of the lockdown.
All right, so these are just nationals who are normally resident in France?
Yes, exactly.
All right, and this is a joint venture with, as you said, the Dutch, so Air France and KLM going to be the main carriers here.
Yeah, we're lucky enough to have one airline company, KLM and Air France. So it will be quite a complicated journey, because the flight will go from Amsterdam to the La Réunion Island in the Indian Ocean to South Africa, and then back to Amsterdam and to France. So it will be a long journey for the passengers, but that's what they will follow, and I'm sure they will be also happy to see their family and their home by the end of the week.
All right, and all the people that will be boarding on the flight, I would imagine also getting pre-testing, screening, making sure that they're not symptomatic.
Yes, of course, they will be tested. If they have symptoms, then they will have to stay, to respect the quarantine, to be confined here in South Africa, waiting for another flight. So we will make sure that the whole process is safe for South Africa, of course, at the airport, and then in the planes to Europe.
Are you satisfied that you've managed to locate all of your nationals? Some may be in remote places and not have access to the internet and things like that.
Well, actually, we have a lot of French tourists in South Africa, and these last 3 weeks, there were more than 5,000 French tourists going back to France. So now I think we are talking about the very last ones. But as you said, I mean, it's still possible that a French tourist that we are not aware of just go out of the bush or to a very special hidden place in South Africa, which is a very large country, and then we will see what we can do and what kind of solution we can find with the South African authorities. But hopefully by the end of the week, I think that these stranded tourists will all be home in Europe.
What is the situation in France at the moment with the trying to curb the spread of the coronavirus? How's the country coping?
Well, the situation is still very, very serious, very critical. We have, unfortunately, a significant number of positive cases and also of victims. Today, there are 30,000 people at the hospital. So hopefully, most of them will go out of the hospital soon. But unfortunately, we will have to count victims. And this is a very, very sad situation. Like in South Africa, the French government has taken very tough measures We are also following the lockdown rules. We are testing and tracking the patients. We are fully supporting the health sector. And these very last days, we have seen a small decrease in the number of hospitalized people. So we hope that maybe the peak of the epidemic is behind us, but we don't know. We have to be very, very cautious, and it's probably a long way still before we go out of this crisis.
All right. So, listening to your briefing yesterday, we heard that President Macron and President Ramaphosa have been working closely, particularly with the African Union as well, for a response and assistance from France. What kind of help might the continent see from your country?
Well, first of all, I would like really to commend President Ramaphosa for his extraordinary leadership. I think that for all leaders in the world, it's a difficult situation, but your president, your government has also taken very harsh and tough and brave decisions for the security of the people of South Africa. And we are fully respecting, of course, these instructions here. But also, I mean, it's a global challenge. It's a global virus. So the response also must be global. The response must be collective. And Europe and Africa are special partners. South Africa and France are special partners. We are both members of the G20. We are both members of the UN Security Council. South Africa is chairing the African Union. So our two presidents, President Macron and President Ramaphosa, have been working together, have been exchanging their views and trying to push for an international agenda to make sure that this collective response is strong enough in terms of health support, in terms of economic stimulus package, in terms of scientific cooperation. We are working together, shoulder to shoulder, and South Africa and France at the same side.
All right, so Ambassador, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup and bonne chance.
Merci, Peter. Thank you very much.